You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 284 of Podketeers. This week we primarily focus on Disney Plus and our experiences with it so far. Leading up to that conversation, we also talk a little bit about Frozen 2, a Netflix film called Klaus. Gavin had the opportunity to chat with our pal Josh over at the Animation Station. The link to that talk will be in the blog post for this episode over at podketeers.com/284. Make sure to head over there and check that out. We also talk about John Williams getting a Grammy nomination for a score for Galaxy's Edge, plus the music from Oga's Cantina is now available online. Remember that you can always join the conversation by giving us your thoughts on anything that we talk about, either by leaving a comment on the blog post for the episode, or by connecting with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or on YouTube. Just search for Podketeers. This holiday season, we'll be offering free shipping on all Podketeers gear orders over $35. No coupon is required. It'll just adjust itself during checkout. If you'd like to check out the items that we have for sale, you can go to podketeers.com/gear. Another great way to support the podcast is by using our Amazon link this holiday season. This won't cost you anything extra, but it will give us a small commission from Amazon as a thank you for mentioning them on the podcast. To help us out, it's very simple. Go to podketeers.com/Amazon, click on the big Amazon button on that page, make your purchases just like you normally would, and Amazon will take care of the rest. To everyone using our link, we just want to say thank you. We appreciate the support. Finally, the best way to support what we do is by doing what listeners like you are already doing. Those listeners are a special group of folks called the FGP Squad, also known as our podcast Fairy Godparents. It's the FGP Squad's monthly support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. And if you want to be part of that elite crew, you can find out more on how to sign up by going to podketeers.com/FGP. To all of the members of the FGP Squad, thank you so much, as always, for your continued support. It's time to get this episode started. I'm sorry I don't sound like I have a tremendous amount of energy. It's been a really taxing week, mentally and emotionally and physically. And I talk about it just a tiny bit on the podcast. So I'm sorry about that, but let's get this thing started. So here we go. This is episode 284 of Podketeers. You know, I usually start the podcast telling you about the crazy antics that happened during the week. This week has been just a roller coaster of emotions for me. I don't know how much I'm going to share. I don't tend to share a lot of the private things that happen to me. Mm-hmm. I don't instantly jump on social media and start posting a lot of that stuff, but it's been a tough week. Tough last night, really. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to you guys for doing this with me, because it's kind of taking my mind off of a lot of things right now. It's kind of giving me a break from the emotional roller coaster.
We got you.
I'll talk about a little bit more about that, maybe later, maybe another time. I don't know. But this is going to serve as a good distraction for me right now, just to kind of disconnect and just kind of, not feel, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
I think most of us that listen to this podcast and that are on this podcast use Disney and Disney discussions as escapism. So this is the perfect place for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
totally.
And I appreciate that. So I not just you guys, but I appreciate everybody listening for the same reason, because if we didn't have listeners, we wouldn't be doing this. I mean, we'd be doing it, just not recorded and putting it out into the world somehow. So So yeah, let's kind of shift into the podcast today. So Gavin, you've been at Designer Con this weekend. You've been kind of working the booth, doing the booth babe thing. How's it been holding up that round 1, round 2 sign?
Oh my gosh. Well, I do have the figure for it, but I'm not playing the role of Booth Babe this weekend.
Oh, man.
I'm one of the many zombie walkers up and down the aisles of Epic Designer Con. It's really cool. Like, there's a lot of conventions out there that do art and design, but this one is like all aspects of art and design. So if you're a sneakerhead, there's tons of custom sneaker, like hot new release booths. If you're a toy design nerd, there's tons of toy designers and makers. If you just like art and illustrations, there's tons of artists. Like, it hits every angle.
Nice.
Yeah. And we basically were there almost from open to close yesterday and did the whole zigzag up and down every single aisle. And it took us the entire 8 hours just to cover the floor. That's how big it is. So, there's a lot. I'm going back today. There's a couple things I wanted to go back and get, and a couple spots that I didn't feel like I got to really spend enough time at. But yeah, man, DesignerCon is awesome if you love creative, designy, arty things. And it's super cheap. Like, a whole weekend pass was like $35.
What?
So yeah, it's in Anaheim, right across the street from the parks. So like, next year, get tickets and go. It's awesome.
Isn't this the first year that it's in Anaheim, though? Because I thought I went to DesignerCon in Pasadena.
It traditionally has been in Pasadena, but they moved last year to Anaheim.
So last year was the first year. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I've been, but the last one that I went to, I remember, was in Pasadena, and I just felt like it was outgrowing itself after going to a couple of those. It's a great place. I've met a lot of really interesting artists. I've seen how it's grown from just the artists selling. It was kind of like a giant art walk almost when it first started, and it's kind of morphed into this technology-based convention where you get a chance to see a lot of the cool tech and a lot of the cool software and stuff that people are also using, to put together cartoons and films, and it's just become a beast. I kind of love it, actually. I've missed going to that.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's a lot to take in, so you kind of have to, pace yourself a little bit, kind of like D23.
Yeah.
But it's not a convention that's all about like big panels and shows. It's really just about the show floor.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's cool, man. It's cool. I can't wait to go back today.
Right on, man. Well, hopefully today you get a chance to do the Booth Babe thing, because get a chance to walk around and strut them legs.
Show it off. Oh,
yeah, that's right.
Heck yeah.
Under those lights.
Under those lights. Hey, so I have to ask, considering that you've been at DesignerCon, have you chipped away some time to go watch Frozen 2? Because I know you were, of the three of us, you were the most psyched for the release of Frozen 2. As of the recording of this episode, it already set a box office record for biggest global opening for an animated film, bringing in $350 million worldwide. And it is on track by the end, possibly in the next week or two, since it is Thanksgiving week, to also break that $1 billion mark, which we've already seen 6 other Disney films do this year. Have you seen it? When do you plan to see it if you haven't? And how do you even feel about that stat?
Well, I figured it would have, it would pull in big numbers based on the original film. Also based on the, how should I describe it? Inescapable marketing of it.
Yes.
It's been in our faces for 6 months. But that's fine. That's what they do. Honestly, I am excited about it. There's a chance that I'll be seeing it later today. I don't know how big of a chance that is. And there's a chance that I'll be seeing it on Thanksgiving Eve if I don't see it tonight. So probably in the next week I will have seen it. I will tell you that Netflix just released a film called Klaus. If you have Netflix, go watch Klaus. It is fan-freaking-tastic, and I can't imagine that Frozen 2 will be better than it because it's an artistic work of genius. It's so, so good. So for me, I feel like I've already seen my hit movie of the season, but I am still excited about Frozen 2. I think I'll probably see it soon, but not yet.
Klaus is the one with Jason Schwartzman and Rashida Jones, right?
That is correct.
Nice. Okay. I heard about this film. I didn't know when it was going to drop on Netflix, but I was anticipating watching this film. And I remember thinking that the animation style looked like flat stop motion to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of loved the fact that it just looked like these paper cutouts kind of moving around and stuff. Like, it was just a flat version of Nightmare Before Christmas almost.
Dude, it's so beautiful the way they did it. So, if you watch the film, go take a listen to the Animation Station did a review of it. I hopped on over on that podcast to review it with Josh. So we have a whole discussion about it. And if you remember, Josh and I also went to the Lightbox Expo earlier this year.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And at that expo, Josh got to go to a panel with the artists of Klaus.
Oh,
and
nice.
They talked about their technique of creating this film, and basically it's all hand drawn. It's a 2D film, which is always the best way to go in animation. Like, I'm sold if you tell me it's 2D. And they just created a lighting shading program that they apply to their 2D animations that casts light across the drawings in such a way that it gives it a bit of a three-dimensional pop.
That is awesome.
But it's all hand-drawn, and the animation quality is out of this world. It's so, so good.
Sweet. Well, we are going to put up a link to that episode of the Animation Station up in the blog post for this episode. You can check it out at podketeers.com/284 if you want to take a listen. Our pal Josh has been just killing it in the Animation Station realm with all of the interviews that he has. He's big on anime, so if you're big on anime, that's the podcast you want to be listening to. And it's always fun to listen to Gavin go back and talk to Josh and kind of discuss the things that they do over there. So podketeers.com/284 if you want to listen to that episode of the Animation Station. Back to Frozen, though. I gotta say that even watching the trailers, I was kind of hooked, from the very beginning. I think I've been very vocal about the fact that when I kind of first came in contact with Frozen, I reached the point of just kind of hating it because we were getting Frozen overload all the time. But as it began to die down and I kind of saw the film on what I like to call my terms, not on Disney's terms, I've really grown to appreciate that film. And there was always a discussion of how it did a really good job of creating this amazing story that had to do with sisters and not a love interest like we have seen with previous princess or princess movies in general, because Elsa's technically really the first queen in a lot of these. And this one, I feel I've been reading some stuff on it, and I've been doing my best not to read too much because of the fact that I don't want a lot of it spoiled before I finally get a chance to watch it. But there doesn't really seem to be a major villain in this film, and that's really interesting to me. I kind of stopped reading there because, again, I didn't want to get into spoiler territory. But I like the fact that there's more of an internal struggle with the characters, and it's almost a deep dive into further character development than it is a film that was kind of tacked on to the first one, although it was. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. But Into the Unknown, I already love it. Have you heard the new song?
Oh, is that the song? No,
yes.
I haven't heard anything.
It's so good. I'm on board with it. It is. I don't think it's going to reach the levels of Let It Go popularity. But who knows? I could be wrong, right? I could be completely wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's such a great song.
Nice.
I'm going to put that song in the blog post for the episode if you haven't yet heard it. I would play a small clip of it right now, but YouTube copyright hates us. and so does Instagram copyright. So we would, we'd be taken down. So I'm not going to play it, but I will put a link in the blog post for the episode so you can hear it.
Nice.
So I am excited to watch it. Mel, as the resident, heck no, I don't want me no Frozen anymore. Considering that, your niece and nephew are still at the age that I think they can really fully appreciate this more than the hatred that most adults have grown for Frozen.
Well, they didn't grow up with that.
So
they lucked out.
So are they going to go watch this? Are you going to take them, or are you going to give in to watching this film, or wait till it's on Disney Plus or something?
I think okay. Depends. If they approach me, then yeah, because usually we go in like together as a family. I'll suck it up and I'll go see it. No problem. I don't hate it, for the record. I just became numb to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
That's it. But, if it happens, it happens. And if I watch it, cool. If not, Disney Plus, it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm not going to see it. No, I may eventually see it because it's a Disney film.
Yeah.
And I have seen like everything, even if I fell asleep on some movies like Brave. But hey, I saw it.
What?
Oh, you just hit Gavin where it hurts.
I try to be slick.
I'm sure he was going to catch it. He's like right there, so he can hear you,
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, man. Well, if you do end up watching it, obviously we totally want to hear what you have to say about it, because I think you're the least, I'll say it this way, you're the least excited to go watch it at this point of the three of us. I think Gavin's probably the most. I'm kind of in the middle, and you're definitely the least excited to watch it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that excitement level matches up to what we end up feeling after we watch the film, if we end up watching it. So, speaking of films, I think we still want to try to do a movie meetup for Jungle Cruise. That's going to be coming up. I know that we talked about watching it together. We weren't going to make it an official movie meetup, but we were going to let you guys know where we were going to watch it. We're still trying to figure that out, because the AMC at Downtown Disney is no longer a thing. Now it's the AMC at Garden Walk, which is fine, I guess. Or is it at Garden Walk? No, that's House of Blues.
No.
Yes, it's no longer Garden Walk.
Block.
That's House at Blues. Yeah, it's at the Block. I don't know. We got to figure it out. We wanted something that was close to the park so that we can try to hop over after. So we're going to keep talking about it, figure out when a good time would be, and see if we can start getting tickets. But once we figure that out, we'll put it all out there. We'd love to have you join us to just sit and chat about it after as well.
Don't you think they should eventually figure out what they're going to do at that end of Downtown Disney? They've got those empty buildings there now.
I'm sure they'll figure something out. I wouldn't be surprised if AMC came back in and said, you know what, we're just retaking the building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, they need to modernize that theater, because it is kind of old at this point.
I agree.
It's not the modern feel for a theater, so they could redo it. But I mean, it's crazy to me that they've just let that and the ESPN zone and the Rainforest Cafe and all that just kind of sit there and languish. I know they did the Mickey thing for a minute at the ESPN zone, but I don't know. It's just weird that nothing has moved forward at all.
Yeah.
No, and then in front of Rainforest, they have a little temporary food truck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it just looks so bad in front.
Yeah.
It looks like City Walk.
Ooh, shade.
Look, I know we're not armchair Imagineering Downtown Disney right now, but here we go. You guys ready for this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think 2?
Well, I mean, look, there's always room for improvement, and there's always room for ideas. Yeah. So I'm going to toss one out there. Rebecca, here you go. For Downtown Disney, the old AMC location, you can redefine it however you want. You might even want to call it the Main Street Cinema Redux. And you just spruce up the entire theater so that it has newer amenities available and it looks nicer, but it also has that classic theater feel to it, sort of like the El Capitan does. Then you can start holding premieres there, and you can use it as a regular movie theater, no longer owned by another franchise, maybe run by another franchise, but just branded Disney.
Wait, what if it was the Disney Plus Theater?
The Disney Plus Theater, yes.
So they could show all their new films, but they could also like run classic Disney stuff there all the time.
So then we can call it the Off Main Street Cinema, sponsored by Disney Plus. Huh?
Dude.
Perfect.
So there you go. There's an idea that I think the Disneyland Resort and Imagineering should toy around with, get together with some kind of movie conglomerate like AMC or Edwards or Tarkin or whoever. And then, or Larkin. I said Tarkin. It's really Larkin's theory. I don't know. That's beyond my West Coast realm, unfortunately. But it's a good idea.
And they could sell, and then they could sell the popcorn buckets in there.
Yes.
I mean,
oh, snap.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the possibilities are endless. So there you go. There's your idea. Run with it. Do something with that spot.
I like it.
Before we move on, since we're talking about movies, congratulations should be sent out to John Williams, who received a Grammy nomination for his score of Galaxy's Edge this last week.
Cool.
I thought that was pretty awesome, considering that it's not a movie score. It's not anything for, going to TV or anything, but it is a score nonetheless. And to get a Grammy nomination for something that very few people may ever hear is kind of fantastic.
Is it its own special category? What is it for?
You know what? I wish I knew what category it was in.
That's weird.
I believe Best Instrumental Composition.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I guess in this, I'm trying to remember what. It was a piece that I was reading in Variety about it, but there was a couple of other like really big ones, I think, that made it into that same one in previous years. But I'll put more information about it in the blog post for the episode. But I did want to at least throw the congratulations out there to John Williams, because again, not many people are going to hear it in Galaxy's Edge. Heck, I've been to Galaxy's Edge and I can barely hear it.
Right. You have to like literally sit down somewhere remote and listen.
Yeah, it's not a very simple thing to hear, especially considering with the rustle and bustle of the people that are there. I think that the earlier that you're there and the later that you're there, it is much easier to hear it in the background. But when it's full-blown packed, like, you just can't hear anything. You hear more people and stuff. So you hear the TIE fighters flying around, you hear droids, you hear the stormtroopers, yeah, but very rarely do you hear the actual score of the land. So that was nice.
Did you guys know? I just learned about this. Oga's Cantina, the playlist, is now on Spotify.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could finally listen to this music. So I just wanted to bring it up in case. I was like, oh, it's tricky because you couldn't really look up Oga's Cantina. You have to look up through Galaxy's Edge.
Which is
and
fine.
Then everything comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we were able to embed that playlist. I think Spotify has that option available. If we have a way to do that, I'll try to embed it in the blog post for the episode, podketeers.com/284. And if I can't, I'll try to just put up a link so that when you click on it, it'll launch your Spotify directly with that playlist for you to listen to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I know we've done that before. With songs that we've talked about in a podcast or something. So that I know I can do. But yeah, I think this is just an extension of the Play app, right? Because the Play app had the opportunity to listen to songs, but through the iTunes music store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Again, movie related, the Infinity Saga Collector's Edition was released for everybody that's been waiting for that. I know that Best Buy had a special collector's edition box. all 23 MCU films, a bonus disc, a letter from Kevin Feige, and an exclusive lithograph. I think just over 4,000 of those were made. It was coming in at $549.99 if you pre-ordered it on bestbuy.com. It's kind of nice because all of the films were available in 4K and in Blu-ray. And I remember just talking to a couple of people at work about this collector's edition, and they said, it's too expensive. How dare they? I was like, I think it's actually cheaper than buying all of the 4K equivalents by themselves, because...
How many films is it?
It's 23 films. It's 23 films, and each 4K
It's
disc...
It's $23.91 per film.
$23.91 for film. And normally, if they're not on sale when they're 4K, they're about $30 a piece.
Yeah.
So if you buy the box set and you don't get them on sale, or if you've gone through the process of buying them in 4K individually, you've kind of already spent that.
Yeah.
You know, for those people that don't own it and just want the convenience of having everything in one box set, yeah, obviously this is a really great way to go. Especially, it makes a really great Christmas gift also. But, I mean, if you've purchased them all, I mean, should we really complain that it's that much since we've already kind of spent that money?
That's true. That's a good.
Right?
That's a good question.
So,
Dang.
that's available. It was really nice to know that there was some exclusive footage from Infinity War and Endgame that wasn't available before. It's got a lot of Hulk footage that we've never seen before. I'm hoping that they do a less expensive version of this that's not 4K, because I don't have a 4K TV, you know, but I'd love to have a box set. I own a lot of the films in the MCU, but not all of them. I've probably purchased about half of them on Blu-ray because it's the ones that I felt were most important to me, really. But to have them all in a convenient box set, I think that would be nice. But I don't think I want a collector's box set. I just want a box set.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Just get a shoebox.
Okay.
And then go to your shelf and pull off all your MCU movies.
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
Put them in the shoebox.
I'm with you.
Instant box set.
Gotcha. Okay, what about the ones that I'm missing?
Well, you've got a one-of-a-kind special edition box set with only the important movies to you. It's personalized.
You know what? Sold. I'll take 4.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll take 4. Okay. So we're going to get into our main discussion for this episode shortly. But before we do that, I do want to remind you that this episode of Podketeers is brought to you by a wonderful group of folks known as the FGP Squad. The FGP Squad are listeners just like you that help us out with a monthly contribution via Patreon. They call themselves the FGP Squad, but we call them our podcast Fairy Godparents because it's their help, obviously, that help us make these episodes. And if you want a little more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad, you can head over to podketeers.com/FGP for more information. There you'll find a link to make a one-time or monthly contribution on our Patreon page. And if you have any questions, you can always hit us up on social media. Just search for Podketeers. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. So just send us a message. We'll be happy to answer any questions about it. It's a great time to become part of the FGP Squad because we have some giveaways coming up. And whether you're new or whether you're a longtime member of the FGP Squad, you are eligible to win any of those prizes that are coming up. Plus, if you sign up for a contribution of at least $5 or more monthly, you do get the exclusive Podketeers Fairy Godparent button as a thank you for your support. So again, podketeers.com/FGP is where you want to go for more information. And to all of the members of the FGP Squad, we just want to send a huge thank you, as always, for your continued support. Okay, so before we move on to the Disney Plus discussion, I do want to just make one other comment as a follow-up to last episode, because we had been talking about Critter Country. It was our Armchair Imagineering episode, and FGP Squad member Albert, speaking of the FGP Squad, left a message on the post talking about what he would like to see. So he said he would like to see a supersized dark ride for Zootopia. That was his thought as well while we were talking about our ideas. He says get rid of the Hungry Bear restaurant and make the ride twice as long as the standard dark ride so it's a high capacity attraction. And then the Hungry Bear would be moved down the path into Batu and get rethemed as a full sit down.
Nice.
What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that comment come in and I thought it was really good. I like the idea of moving the restaurant down because there does seem to be a long stretch of space around that bend, and that end of Galaxy's Edge does feel a little empty. So it might help feel like it's more complete down there. I know that's kind of the idea, is that you're off in the wilderness at that point, but it does feel a little like there's nothing over there, basically. Yeah. So I like it for that idea. For me, I still don't know if the aesthetic of Zootopia fits for me within Critter Country. That's my only thing. And I do also feel like it deserves its own complete area, whether it's a full land or what.
For the restaurant, we could be outside. Let's put some more barbecue. Bring it back. Yeah. But also, there aren't many places to really eat. I mean, yeah, you have Ronto's, you have Dock Bay 7, but you're kind of limited. So we could definitely use another, sit-down area of restaurant. But, yeah, maintain the aesthetic, put more trees if we need to. Why not? I think it'd be great because, again, I'm a sucker for the atmosphere and for the music and everything, and just to hear that while you're eating. That would be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And just so you know, Gavin, there was another comment on there by Disney Fan 1, listener Philip, who said the exact same thing you said, that Zootopia really wouldn't fit the theming of Critter Country. So I think after we talked about it a little bit more, I was convinced about the same. And I tend to agree with you a little bit more now. And I'm actually glad that I didn't end up going with that Zootopia theme, because if, once we open the third park further down in Anaheim, we really are going to want a Zootopia district to that park. Yeah. So, it's all going to be coming soon. Don't worry about it. Once we have our sit down with Rebecca Campbell, we'll just make all that happen. So it'll be fine.
Now, are you still feeling like the park at Angel Stadium works better than turning that into parking and making Toy Story the park?
Look, I'm surveying different land areas at this point. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. I'm for doing it at Toy Story Lot and making parking satellite down at Angel Stadium.
Yeah, I'm still surveying different areas. I'll get back to you on that.
Monorail extension down Harbor Boulevard and then across, Chapman.
Yeah, you guys are gonna just keep going.
We totally could.
Okay.
Okay, so Disney Plus launched recently in the United States, which is where we are located. If you're listening from anywhere outside of the United States, please leave a comment in the Instagram post for this episode so you guys can get a shout out on the next episode. We'd love to know where you guys are all listening from. And you know what? Forget it. If you're listening in the U.S., just say where you're listening from and you'll get a shout out.
Yeah.
Anyway. Disney Plus launched. There was a lot of anticipation, especially after we signed up, knowing that this thing was coming. This Disney Netflix was coming. And after playing with it for a couple of weeks, last week we gave kind of a few words about how we felt about it. Let's dive a little bit deeper into some of the pros, some of the cons, the content, the interface, everything. So let's start there. Let's start with the interface. As far as the interface is concerned, it's not revolutionary. It's very standard, I think, to what we're used to seeing with services like Netflix and maybe Amazon Video. I think Hulu probably has the most unique interface when it comes to these streaming services. How do you guys feel about the landing on the side versus the top like some of the other services?
I dig that. I think it works okay. In general, I think it's interesting because they have the unique ability to kind of distill everything down into whatever it is, 6 main channels like Disney, Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, Nat Geo.
Princesses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the ones across the top, the major categories.
Under the
and then
under
as you
the
go
large,
down, you've got
yeah.
the different like themed channels, right? So I like the way that they've got that organized, and then having that landing thing that you're talking about being over on the left. Yeah, to me, it makes no difference whether it's at the top or the bottom. What I like about it is like some of the like Hulu you mentioned. I don't like Hulu because if you want to change one of the menu items at the top and you've scrolled down through a bunch of like titles, you got to scroll all the way back up just to get to that menu, and that's freaking annoying.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, so there's some things like that that I like. I feel like the interface, the usability of it, I think needs some polish still because like when you pull up, let's say you've added a show to your list. For example, I'm watching The Mandalorian, like the rest of the planet. And when you pull it up and like, let's say you stopped in the middle of an episode, it's not real clear. Like when you push play, like, is it going to start there or do you have to go down and select that episode? Like there's no like resume where you left off or, like a lot of the other features, it'll have like a keep watching, it's like, okay, you're going to start. Like it's not real clear what's happening. It seems like when I do just push play, it is picking up where I left off. So that's good. It's just not apparent that that's what it's going to do. And then, we haven't seen a lot of episodes build up in these yet, but I'm not real sold on the way that their original content is like lining up on their pages, like the individual page for the show. But I think a lot of it too is just learning their interface and getting used to it and playing with it and trying different things, because the streaming is great. I feel like that's all good. I like that they've got clearly themed categories too, because sometimes, like I really think with Netflix, some of their categories are pretty convoluted. Like, I don't need a breakout between, like a million different genres of British comedy. You know, just put it all together, man.
Yeah.
It seems it's very familiar. I'm not too familiar with Hulu. I barely use it, but with Netflix, it's like I just saw it as similar to Netflix. But like Gavin was just talking about, when you're watching a TV show, like for instance, I'm watching Gravity Falls, and I don't see the watch again or continue watching. I don't have that feature, so I have to like go back, search it, and then click on the episode. That's my only issue, is not having that function of just going and continuing, because I love that. I love to just go back and just binge.
Yeah.
But I think that feature, I mean, I'm hoping that it'll come out one day, sometime.
It's funny.
Maybe they're working on it.
It's funny because I'm picturing like some savvy listeners out there that have already figured out how to do this. They're like, you guys, it's this button right here. And we just don't know how to use it.
It's okay.
That's very common for me these days.
Yeah, and honestly, if that's the case, if it's just something that we haven't caught on to with the app yet, please leave a comment and let us know so that we can update everybody as well. Because there are some quirks to it, like you said, and those are two. I don't remember, and see, this is where it's kind of getting muddy for me now, because I don't remember if I saw it on the TV or if I saw this on my phone, but I vaguely remember now seeing a resume versus play. And so to me, I kind of feel like if I'm seeing the word resume versus play, that just means pick up where you last left off. So I don't know if I'm mixing it up with Hulu in my head now, but I distinctly remember seeing the word resume and my kids hitting resume on something, and it just picked up where we were watching. And I think it happened when we were watching Lady and the Tramp couple days ago, because yes, it was Lady and the Tramp, So they had already started watching Lady and the Tramp, and they were at about the halfway point, and then I started watching it with them, and my wife said, start it from the beginning so Dad can watch it with us. And I remember them going to the Lady and the Tramp page, and instead of a play button, it says resume.
Oh,
So the
okay.
play button does change the actual wording. And I think, I don't remember what it's like on the smart TVs or if it's on the Roku, but I know that on the phone, if you see the resume button, there's a small status bar underneath it that kind of shows you like what percentage you've watched already. So there is some indication now as far as whether you've started or not, and it doesn't distinctly say it in words, but there is the visual of something that you've started watching. So that could have been something that they fixed recently, because I know that a lot of the fixes and a lot of the things that Disney has been doing happen pretty quickly. They happen on the fly, and we saw this happen with Mickey's birthday. You know, as soon as Mickey's birthday hit, we saw Happy Birthday Mickey and all of the shorts kind of shoot up to the front of the list. So that was kind of cool. And then as soon as his birthday was over, it changed right back to Mickey Mouse shorts or the Mickey Mouse section, just like it was before.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see. So if you haven't seen the resume portion of it, take a look again, and it might be app dependent. Again, I don't remember what it's like on some of the apps, but I know for a fact that I've seen it on the phone. I have a Samsung phone, and I know that in my app, that's the case. So I can take like a screenshot of that, and I can like post it in case anybody's wondering what it looks like. But
Yeah.
so take a look for that, because that might be the way that they, just to kind of keep the interface clean. You know, maybe they don't want to put the wording in there just to keep it clean. But yes, that might be the best way to do it. But yeah, I think when it first started, there wasn't even a way to resume. When the service first launched, I think it was a matter of you hit play and it just started from the beginning again. So
Yeah.
I think over time, they've been adding all these little fixes that have made the service a little bit better, especially as they're listening to the people that are watching. What are some of the features that they want to see? And I think this was a big one.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're moving so quickly is really great.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the troubles that they've had, because on launch day, they seem to kind of just not work. We already talked about how Disney Plus reached 10 million subscribers on the first day. And I think we mentioned, hey, you know, this is a new service. Disney doesn't know what to expect. Honestly, I think they did a pretty good job of recouping the time. I think it was about 3 or 4 hours when they finally realized, hey, this is how much bandwidth we're going to need. It's hard to anticipate what you're going to see as bandwidth for something, especially when it's brand new, right?
Yeah.
When was the first time that you logged in, and did you experience any problems trying to log in when it first launched?
Well, we signed up the day of, and I want to say it was like 7 o'clock in the morning when we tried to see it before I had to go to work, and I kind of bummed that I couldn't watch it at work. But yeah, we had some issues where it just wasn't loading, and we understood. We totally understood, because one, here's all these other people like me signing up for the bundle, for the Hulu bundle and the ESPN bundle that they offered. We waited just for that because we didn't want to sign up for the just the regular, Disney Plus service. So to think about how many people were trying to stream, people were staying up, not sleeping.
Yeah.
Then you got the regular folks like us waking up, trying to sign up. So honestly, I mean, there were just hiccups. I mean, it wasn't as bad. It didn't really break the service. You just had to have a little patience with it.
Yeah.
So I really can't complain. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I think Gavin and I were in a unique situation because we were part of the group that were already signed up, right? We didn't have to worry about that. We just had to worry about getting an app to log in. Before we move over to Gavin to talk about his first experience, I do want to mention that this bundle that you got the $12.97 bundle, right? For all three services.
Yes.
So if you're interested in getting that bundle, and you currently don't have Hulu and you don't mind the ads, this bundle is great because you're getting Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus for $13 a month, and that's just a crazy good price for all three of those services. If you have the no ad Hulu, the one that's $12.99 monthly, and you sign up for this bundle, when they bundle it up for you, you will still be paying $6.99 for Hulu. You basically get a $6.99 credit as part of the bundle, and you're paying the difference for Hulu so that you can get it ad-free. However, if you have this bundle, and then later down the line, because they all use the same Disney login, and you want to have the no ads Hulu, you cannot upgrade yet. You're locked into the one with ads as part of this bundle. Disney has not figured out a way to do that. I'm sure that it's in the works, but just know that in the meantime, you are locked into the Hulu with ads if you get this bundle without getting the Hulu with no ads before integrating it into your bundle.
Mm-hmm.
If that's confusing, yes, I know, because we went through it. So I knew going in that we used to have the Hulu with ads. But then knowing that we were going to be doing this, we upgraded our Hulu to the one with no ads and then went into the bundle portion of it. Because they all use the same login. So be careful, especially if you want to make sure that one day you're not going to want ads for Hulu. Do it that way or wait. Do not join your accounts yet until they have a way to do it in a little better way than what's currently available. So back to the subject. Gavin. First time logging in, what was your experience?
As a proud member of the Disney Plus Founders Circle,
Word.
I did log in on day one, and I actually wasn't able to log in until after work, so it was about 5 p.m. in the evening. It seems like at that point they kind of caught up. I had no issues or lags or anything getting logged in. Logged right in. Was watching The Mandalorian within 30 seconds and loving it.
My first experience was we had a countdown going because we knew that it was going to launch on a specific day. And all of a sudden, we started getting alerts saying that the apps were available. And then we started seeing people posting about it. So we downloaded it on the Roku. We downloaded it on our phones. We logged in, set up all of our profiles, and we were watching within like 2 minutes after setting up all of the profile names, which, by the way, love the fact that you can have profiles. There's not a huge difference right now with the profiles like you have with Hulu and with Netflix. I think that with those other services, there's such a huge selection that it's very easy for their algorithm to start throwing things at you that you may or may not like, depending on what's on your profile, what's on your watch list, what's on what your previously viewed list. But with Disney Plus, it's kind of a little of everything for everyone, and it's such a it feels weird to say that it's such a huge base of content and yet so much smaller in some senses.
Yeah.
Right? Because of everything that's available on those other services. So the profiles will serve the function of allowing you to sort through some of the things that you want to watch versus what your kids want to watch, what your spouse wants to watch, whatever the case is, right? That's great. I just think it's going to be a little bit better once more content is there, because regardless of the profile that you're seeing, you're kind of served the same menu. It's not really catered to the profile. And I don't know if that's going to change as the profile learns more about you and the more that you watch on the service. I don't know what type of AI is actually integrated into the service yet. So I don't know what algorithm is currently serving you the content, but regardless of which one we log into, the menus look exactly the same. So I think it might just be a matter of it learning what we like, and then it'll start serving us more of what it thinks we're going to like. So,
right.
But yeah, my experience was logged in really quickly. Everything was great. The quality was fantastic right off the bat.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it how quickly it loaded such quality looking content. There are a lot of films that are streaming in 4K or in Ultra HD. And some of the series, like The Mandalorian, all of the original Star Wars films were converted to 4K. Frozen, Endgame, Little Mermaid, Toy Story, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. For some unexplicable reason, The Black Cauldron was converted to 4K. So there's a lot of films that have been upscaled to this 4K and have been re-rendered to look amazing on a 4K TV. And it's such a great deal, too, because Netflix currently offers their 4K starting at $15.99 monthly. So the fact that you have this option integrated into the service for the $6.99 or $12.97 bundle is great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm actually glad that they have a strip for that as one of the menu sets for Ultra HD and HDR, so that if you do have the capability of watching that, you know exactly where to go to start looking or to start watching some of these films in 4K.
Before we move on to the next thing, the one interesting thing that I ran into, which I didn't really anticipate, is I guess I just assumed that Disney Plus would be available on all of our devices, but our main TV in our living room is one of these smart TVs that has like a lot of apps built in, and Disney Plus isn't available on the actual TV, at least not yet. And our Blu-ray player for that TV is PlayStation 3, which is now an old system. And there's no Disney Plus app available on that yet either. And I don't know if they will go back and make one for that. So right now we can't watch Disney Plus in our main viewing area. So we're thinking about maybe getting ourselves a new Blu-ray player for Christmas. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have older equipment that works just fine, but they don't have, they're not making new apps for some of these things. So yeah, that was a bummer.
Yeah, we ran into the same thing with our television. Our television was one of the first generation smart TVs. And so I think since then, there's been a lot of advancements in the smart TV technology. Part of the reason that I think Disney Plus isn't available on some of these devices is because they don't support the security encryption that Disney Plus uses in order to stream properly. So manufacturers of older devices aren't going to want to go and try to integrate it because it's integrated into their new products. So it's easier for them to just buy a new TV that has it instead of them spending billions of dollars developing for an old piece of technology.
Yeah.
We also have a PS3 as our Blu-ray player, and we ran into that problem as well. The best thing I can tell you is get a Roku. The Roku has all of the apps, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, YouTube, everything is on the Roku, and I think it's $100, and it's so much better, especially if your Blu-ray player is still working. There's really no need for another one, especially if you're not a gamer. That's been my mentality with our PS3. I'm running that thing into the ground. Yeah. We've had it for 12 years now.
Is Roku the same as the Amazon Fire Stick? Is that basically the same concept?
It's better.
Why?
It is the same concept, but it's better because it handles streaming a lot better than the Fire Stick does. The base unit itself has a lot more capability to cache and stream so that you drop less video. So you get less pixelated video. It streams a lot better. The interface, I believe, is a little bit better and easier to navigate. I can walk you through mine if you want to take a look at it, and then you can kind of decide there. They are very similar products.
Okay.
Normally, for people that are in the Google ecosystem, I would say get maybe a Chromecast, because all of the apps you can do on your phone and then Chromecast it to your television. And the Chromecast is only $35, and it works phenomenally with the Chromecast as well. So if you don't want to spend the $100 or the $50 on the base Roku, then get yourself a Chromecast, because it'll work even with iPhones. If you have an iPhone and you already have an Apple TV, you can cast on your Apple TV, and if your TV doesn't support it. And that's if you have an older Apple TV, because most Apple TVs will support Disney Plus. So if the app isn't available because it's too old, you might be able to cast it using your phone over onto the Apple TV. So there's plenty of options, but I understand what you're saying about being bummed out that day one, just with these devices that we currently had, we couldn't use it. I'm running into that with my primary device for watching this when I'm working on stuff is on a tablet. It's on an iPad. The iPad is so old that I couldn't even install Disney Plus. It straight up told me, your device is too old. Please get a new one. Please go to the Apple Store and fork over $700. And I said, nope, not today. No, nope. And I set up my phone, and I was like, how you like me now, iPad? I'm watching on my phone. Just like that. So yeah, plenty of options. As a matter of fact, we will put some of the options that are available for purchase, including the Fire Stick, the Chromecast, in the blog post for the episode, podketeers.com/284. Just know that all of those links are affiliate links for Podketeers when you go to purchase on Amazon. If you choose to do that, we want to in advance say thank you, because purchasing through our Amazon link does help us out with a small kickback from Amazon every time you make a purchase using our link. If there's anything that you ever want to buy, remember that before you make your purchase, head over to podketeers.com/Amazon. Click on the big button. It'll take you to Amazon, and it won't cost you anything extra, but we get a small commission from them as a thank you because you use our link. In advance, thank you to all of you that will be using those links to purchase those devices this holiday season.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's talk about how some of the things are broken up on the main screen. I touched on it just a little bit ago. You know, you have your originals, recommended for you, hit movies, trending, out of the vault, inspired by true stories, Disney Channel favorites, musicals, throwbacks, beasts and monsters, Disney Junior, Mickey Through the Years, documentaries. How do you guys feel about these, and what would you like to see as an addition to these?
My only issue, I like how they're broken out. They've got pretty straightforward themes, and especially for Disney fans, like, we know what all these things are. My issue is, like, if you go to Disney, they'll have one tier for animated movies and another tier for Out of the Vault, and they're both animated movie tiers, but they have slightly different lists.
Right.
And neither of them is comprehensive. You know, like, you go to animated movies, it doesn't have all of the animated movies that are on there. You know, you have to find them in other places or search for them. Right. So that's my only issue right now, is that some of the categories seem incomplete. I know that some content is not on Disney Plus yet, but even the content that they have on there seems incomplete in certain categories, where it should be, like, that particular one, it should have all of the animated films that they've got on Disney Plus right now, and It doesn't. So, like, that, I think they could work on that. But other than that, I like the way it's broken down. I like the way it's organized, and it makes it fun to explore. You know, I've gone through different categories and just thought, ooh, that sounds interesting. I wonder what they've put in that category. And you scroll through and you find some little nugget in there that you didn't expect to find. And that's what's been fun to me, is I've watched a bunch of random things here and there just by scrolling through and finding something. So yeah, I think it's headed in the right direction for sure.
What about you, Mel?
Same thoughts and whatnot. I'm sure, like, as we're gonna get, like, more shows, things being uploaded to the service, one thing I thought would be really cool to see is a category by decades.
Yes.
Just so we could see, you know, what was during this time, during this time, during this time. It may be a lot, but I think it'd be pretty cool, especially for those who want to study, you know, a certain era or whatnot.
Yeah.
Even for little ones. I mean, it's cool to say, like, hey, this is when they started, da-da-da-da. This would be this year, this decade. Just an educational type of thing. But the way that they have it, I mean, that's pretty cool. I like it. Gosh, I don't really have a lot of cons about it. I really don't.
Yeah.
I like your idea there, though, about the decades, because it makes me think of Spotify. That like I
Yeah.
always start by thinking, what am I in the mood for? Do I want some 60s? Yeah, let's go to the
Yeah.
60s, and I'll go to that decades tab, and I'll go to the 1960s, and I love that idea because sometimes you're just in the mood for a film from a particular era, and you don't have necessarily one in mind. But if you pick the 50s, you could pick from a bunch of great films, and
Mhm.
yeah, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great idea. On a similar note, I wish they had two particular menu sets for the Pixar timeline and the Disney animation timeline, where in order they showed
Oh
you
yeah,
every animated film and every Pixar film and short
Yeah.
in the order that they were released. And
that's good.
yes,
Yeah,
the shorts need to come before the films because they were technically before the films. So
yeah,
they would be starting with the very first one that they made all the way through the latest. I think it would just be a really cool way to see everything in order because I think with the ability to watch TV shows in order, dumping all the seasons out so we can watch them whenever we want, this is a really good way to catch up with stuff that you've never seen before. Or, like when we did right before Infinity War and before Endgame, we were watching all of the MCU films in order. Granted,
mm-hmm.
not all the MCU stuff is on here, but let's say you wanted to marathon. You're an animation student, like Mel said, and you
Mhm.
want to marathon through all of the Disney animated films to see what the progression was through the years and how they all kind of became what they are today. Wouldn't it be great to see them in the actual order without having to sort through everything and search for everything where they
Mm-hmm.
feel it's appropriate
Yeah.
for you? I'd love to see that. One other thing I'd love to see is a way to hide what you've already seen so that it just doesn't, like, it's a toggle in your settings and then you can toggle it on and off and like if you want to see them later. But it kind of feel like it's one of those things where you have something to work for without seeing the clutter of all the stuff you've already seen already.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that way it's like process of elimination, right? It's only showing you the stuff you haven't seen so that you're introduced to new stuff. Because
Yeah.
if the algorithm is similar to Netflix, it's going to re-show you the stuff that you've already seen because it knows you like it. But what if
Yeah.
it finds something else you like, but it's buried 17 options down? You're never going to know about it because most people won't scroll that far. So if you
Yeah.
had the option to hide the stuff you've seen, it'll start booting that stuff closer up to the front for you.
Nice.
So,
I like
or
that.
they could tweak the algorithm. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, on a related note, and thinking back on Spotify, it'd be cool if you could create your own playlists.
Mhm.
And then it would,
Ooh.
even if it's movies, it would just play them in a row for you. Like, let me throw all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies in a playlist, and then just play the whole thing while you're working, or like I do stuff like that in my art studio when I'm working on a painting or something. I'll just play
Yeah.
movie after movie, and it'd be cool if I could just put that into a playlist and just if I'm doing a Pirates piece, just play Pirates movies the whole
Yeah.
time. That'd be cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the content before we move to some of this other stuff here. There's a lot of Disney Channel original series, a lot of the DCOMs, the Disney Channel original movies. The Disney Plus originals, I think, have just been the star for me personally.
Heck
The
yeah.
Imagineering story,
Yes.
absolutely blown away by what the Imagineering story has been able to show us and what it's become for me. I've seen other documentaries and read books about Imagineering, but this story is done in such a way where if you know nothing about Disney, it's telling you a pretty comprehensive version of the Imagineering story,
Yeah.
and in a really
Yeah.
interesting way.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time that I've ever seen like the whole story of Imagineering played out like as a narrative. Like
Yeah.
we're seeing the whole history of it and seeing all the through lines, hearing from all the people who lived it and breathed it. And that's what's cool. We've had tons of, like you said, little documentaries, like Imagineering Disneyland, which is a great documentary, or like lots of little books, but they're always little pieces, little specks.
Yeah.
This is like showing you the whole tapestry of Imagineering, and it's so well produced, and it has so much incredible footage that I've never seen before, and I think a lot of it has never been seen before. Even if it's things that we have seen, like different shots of it from different angles, or actual video of things that we've only previously seen still photos of. There's so much of that in there that for the super Disney nerdy fan, like, it's just you just eat it up. Phone? Yeah, it's so good. I'm really pleased with what Leslie Iwerks has created for us, and yeah, that's one of the very best things on there by far.
Gosh, that show. We needed that show a year ago when we were doing our tour of Disneyland.
Well, they teased it at 2 expos ago, and we've just been waiting for it since then.
Yeah.
True. And I mean, this is how I'm seeing it. I'm watching the story happen, but I'm seeing it as, for us, you know how we talked about having to research, having to do everything, you look through books, every single thing, but to see it and be like, yeah, we talked about this, we studied this, we researched this, and then to see the extra pieces and whatnot, it's been a thrill ride, literally. Having to see everything. I don't want to say like spoilers and whatnot, but yeah, there's some parts in that show that you didn't think you would see.
Mm-hmm. When I first heard about it, almost 5 years ago now, I thought it was just going to be a standard film, hour and a half film that they were putting together.
Me too.
And quite honestly, I would have been super happy with that. Just knowing the access that Leslie Iwerks was going to be getting into the Disney archive to be able to put this documentary together was I was fascinated by the idea, because it's something that I think as Disney fans, and we've never called ourselves Disney historians, but semi-Disney historians, I think we would love to see that, right? All those photos, all those videos, especially for Epcot. There was so much new Epcot stuff in the last episode, on the second episode that came out, that I don't even know where to start with it without spoiling everything that's in there. But when I saw season 1, the way that it was broken up, I thought, oh, this is multi-episodes. This is fantastic. And then obviously we found out that there was the episode 2, there was episode 3 that just got released this week. I am sorry to say that there is a finale to the Imagineering story. It says it's season 1, but I'm not sure if there's going to be a season 2. As of right now, the latest episode is called The Midas Touch. The next one coming up is called Hit or Miss. After that is going to be A Carousel of Progress, and then the finale to Infinity and Beyond. So in mid-December, we will get the final episode of the Imagineering story. Man, come on.
Yeah.
Like, from going from this possibly 1 hour movie to having this mini-series,
right?
Like this in-depth mini-series of the story of Imagineering. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah. It's also, I find it to be highly rewatchable.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's something I'll go back and watch many times.
Yes. I've already seen the few episodes that are on there several times a piece.
Yeah,
it's like my kids say, I'm trying to learn the words.
Yes.
Nice.
So the Imagineering story, definitely something that we all recommend watching on there. The Mandalorian, I think you guys have seen.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the latest episode yet.
I have not started.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I have not started.
Okay.
It's good.
I've considered. I think I've been very clear about being a fair weather Star Wars fan.
Sure.
I think I'm more hardcore Marvel fan than anything else. So I've seen more of the Marvel content that's on there. So I'm looking forward.
There's no question about that. You're definitely more of a Marvel
fan. In case nobody knows about that. I just want to put that out there. Just make it clear. But let's talk about some of the other stuff that's on there, like Spark Shorts.
Yeah.
We knew that the Spark Shorts were going to be on there. This last week, there was a little bit of controversy with some parents because of one of the lines in Pearl, which we already knew because we had seen on YouTube before. I don't think there was much warning outside of the little blurbs that they put up in the corner and maybe before you hit the play button. But for kids that are watching something like that and aren't necessarily reading that text, how do you guys feel about that in general?
Well, I assume, I never look at these things, but I know that they're on all the other services. I assume there are parental controls that you can turn on for Disney Plus. I may be wrong. Seems like unfettered access if you don't want your kids to watch certain things is a bad idea. So I mean, I'm just assuming that they have the ability to control these things. So I don't really put that on Disney so much.
Mm-hmm. So I will let you know that the app does have semi-parental controls.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When you set up the profiles, there is an option underneath the avatar and the name that asks you if this is a kid's profile. And once you toggle it on, it's supposed to give you an interface and content that's suitable for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tested this personally yet, but there are people that were stating that even though their kids toggle was on, that they still were served the Pearl short, which says kiss my and then an expletive to most people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else it hides, but on the same token, I would feel that it would also hide, I don't know, The Simpsons. Right? Because I think The Simpsons isn't very kid appropriate. I think it's great for us, but not very kid appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I want to go in and test that. I feel bad that I didn't get a chance to test that and talk about it, which I could do that and then let you know in an upcoming episode. But yeah, so there is a children toggle, but so far it doesn't seem to do very much.
Got it.
I just find it funny that we've got 30 seasons of The Simpsons, and, some of us grew up with The Simpsons. We're fine. It's
We didn't turn out all bad.
Yeah.
right. I mean,
That's funny.
eh.
Did you guys watch the new Spark short, Float?
Yes.
Yes.
That was very
Yes.
interesting. Very beautifully animated. I thought it was cool. It wasn't my favorite of the Spark shorts so far, but I'm interested to see what they bring us next.
The message, I think this is the first one where I'm like, oh my gosh, this one hits close to home.
Mm-hmm.
The message behind it it took a while until I heard the parent say those words, because I've heard it at home. I mean, I'll talk about it. I have an autistic brother, or a brother who has autism.
Mm-hmm.
So having to grow up and see the troubles and the frustrations and to see Float come around was like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This was beautiful. This is, not a lot of people talk about it, which I understand. It's difficult, but it's great to see that Pixar did this and gave a voice.
Yeah.
And that's something I love about the shorts, whether it's just the Pixar shorts or the Spark shorts. I love the messages that they send out. And this one I was just so happy to see it at the end. I'm like, I loved it.
Yeah, it's very heartwarming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Pixar shorts really do raise a level of awareness to things that I don't think are necessarily talked about in Disney animation or necessarily even in Pixar animation. So the fact that they've started to step out of the realm and really talk about things that are happening in the real world, I think is a huge step forward, not just for the Disney company, but animation in general.
And, going back to Kitbull, that was another strong message.
Right.
So, the whole team behind the Spark Shorts, kudos. I can't wait to see the next one.
Yeah.
Right. So while we were talking, I decided to jump on my phone and take a look at the kids' profile because I feel like it just had to be a part of this episode. So I did jump into one of my kids' profiles, and it changes the interface slightly. The main banner only shows you some Marvel animated stuff, a panel for Disney animation, one for Pixar animation, and then one for Disney animated series. Underneath
Ah.
that, the main panels underneath that generally say Pixar, Star Wars, Disney, Nat Geo are no
Mhm.
longer there, and now it's broken up into Mickey and Friends, Princesses, Disney Junior, Superheroes, Action Adventure, and Animals Nature.
Hmm.
And
Ah.
then the featured Disney Channel series, Sing Your Heart Out. So some of the main sets that have been created are named slightly different in the kids section
Interesting.
area. So now you get
Okay.
Puppies and Dogs, Little Cats and Big Cats, Best Friends Forever, Disney Channel
Oh.
original movies, animated adventures, Ready, Set, Go. And it's got like stuff like Herbie, Big Hero 6, Mickey and Roadster Racers, Cars, Cars 3, all the Mater tunes, or the Cars tunes, the Mater Tales. And then it's got shorts. So it is a compressed version of it, so it does seem to be doing a lot. I did search for The Simpsons, does not come up. I searched for Star Wars, does not come up in the children's one. And as far as Pearl, when I searched for that, it did not come up, but it did offer a lot of other Pixar content in its place.
Hmm.
Nice.
So, in case anybody was wondering, the children's toggle or the kids toggle does seem to filter out the content really well. The way that you would want to toggle it is in your app. If you've already set up your different profiles, you go to Edit Profiles, you click on the one that you want to select, and right underneath the name, you'll see Kids Profile with a slide toggle that you can turn on or off in order to make that happen. So there you go. I'm glad I checked because now I started to get worried about what my kids were able to watch and not watch. So, what's been one of the things that you've been most surprised to see on Disney Plus? Like, what was that one thing that you saw that was like, oh my God, I haven't seen this in forever?
Black Cauldron. I don't remember anything, and I had to watch it. Like, and yeah, so many questions after seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very dark.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the, and maybe that's why we don't hear much about it.
Maybe.
Because it is darker than most Disney films, so maybe it's purposely buried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Speaking of kind of purposely buried, let's talk about some of the content alerts that Disney has installed for films like Dumbo, for instance. Where some of these films have a slight blurb saying that there may be some racial connotations in the film to be aware of that if you're watching this with children. I think early on when we were discussing the content that was going to be coming to Disney Plus, we had wondered and mentioned what we thought Disney was going to do. And because of their tendency to re-edit films, we thought that they were just going to cut the films or recut the films and upload them without these scenes. But then I think we argued against it because we thought it was pivotal to the film and how, it really affects story flow and it was doing an injustice to the animators and all sorts of stuff that we talked about. Some on the podcast, some off the podcast discussions. But having this blurb before the films and in the descriptions, do you think that's enough? Do you think that Disney has to do anything like this? Like, how do you guys feel on that front of it?
Well, times have changed for sure. I'm sure. I mean, it's just more of to be more sensitive towards today's society, and to give I guess to give the proper warning of, hey, this will have it. Just letting you know. I mean, maybe people. I mean, maybe those who don't know or don't come from those times may not understand and may take it wrong. So, I mean, I give Disney, credit for even doing that. I don't even know if they have that on their actual, like, their DVDs or recent recently released DVDs. There we go. I don't know if they have that, but the fact that they did that, I mean, I got to give them, credit.
Gavin, what about you?
Yeah, I struggle with this one. I honestly feel like this is a result of the social media era in which we are living.
Yeah.
Where if it's online, people will, get on a soapbox. They will pontificate. They will judge. They will, cast things down, basically in an unfiltered way. In the real world, however, Dumbo is spoken of with such love and reverence and nostalgia. Like, it is one of those movies that on an emotional level, so many people are in love with it. So many people list it as one of their very favorite films. And I never hear a single word in real life about these potential sensitivity issues that Dumbo has. Everybody just talks about what a touching story it is,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you put a blurb up online saying, hey, just so you know, there might be some things in here that are, culturally insensitive. And especially today, we recognize that. Then all of a sudden, people after 90 years have a problem with it. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel that there's a lot of inconsistency out there. And we can all recognize that they would never do a thing like this today. And that those insensitive things that happen in the film are not right, but they're there. It's part of Disney history. It's part of film history. And if we're going to throw out everything that includes anything that's controversial or, what we've learned from over history, then there's not going to be a whole lot left at a certain point,
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we need to just be careful of throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some pieces of some films that are cringeworthy today, but there's also some magic and love and positivity and beauty in those things as well. And just because a person gets one thing wrong doesn't make their whole life wrong. Just because a creator creates one wrong piece doesn't mean the whole thing they created is wrong.
Right.
So I think we just have to look at it with the right reasonable filters, understand the things that, are good, are still good, and the things that are bad, yeah, we recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said a lot of really key things right now that really reflect the direction that the Disney company has really been trying to go in for the last decade or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was that they wouldn't make something like this again.
Right.
In that context, obviously, they would be a lot more mindful about the world that we live in when they're creating a new animated feature or film. So, for me personally, when I saw that this advisory existed, first of all, it's kind of buried. It's buried in the details. It's not necessarily in the direct detail that you see when you first launch one of the films. Like, for instance, for Dumbo, in the main description, it tells you the tale of Dumbo, the baby elephant who uses his ears to soar to fame. See details for advisory.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you have to
Oh.
click on details, and then you read a little bit more about the synopsis of Dumbo. And at the end, it says, contains tobacco depictions. This program is presented as originally created. It may contain outdated cultural depictions. I think what they should do is, if they are really concerned about something like this, then they should create like a little icon, kind of like we already have like TVMA, TVG, TVPG, one that's specific to Disney Plus, where if you're in kids mode, if it doesn't already, I haven't figured out what it doesn't filter out of all those that currently have that advisory, that it just doesn't show it to kids, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the parents' choice. And on the same token, I feel that as a parent, that's my responsibility to teach them why that's wrong and why we've moved on to a society that doesn't believe in things like that anymore, how it hurts people and how it depicts them in a really horrible light. Knowing how to act in certain situations, knowing how to treat people, and knowing that there's nobody beneath you because of where they come from or anything like that. That's a lesson that comes from us, right? So that's my job as a parent. This advisory isn't necessarily going to prevent me from showing this film to my kids. It's quite the opposite. It's going to help me start a conversation with them about at this age why they need to learn these lessons and why they need to learn how to treat other people the same. You know?
Yeah.
Cool. So, a couple of other just main points that I wanted to talk about before we wrap up this Disney Plus talk. First of all, I do want to mention some of the answers that we got on Instagram, because we had posted a few questions in our Instagram stories and some of you replied. So, the first thing that I wanted to post out there was... Or not post out there. We posted and now I want to talk about it. That's okay. Come on, Heyzen. So we talked about the avatars. We asked everybody. We posted our avatars and then we asked everybody else, what are the avatars that you guys are using? Punk Poser responded Vader. FGP Squad member Anita said Jack because it's for our whole family. Jack's a good one because he's got like 20 million personalities, so there's a personality for everyone. Let's see. Adriana, also part of the FGP Squad, said Tigger. World Full of Laughter said Jack as well. My brother responded saying Oswald, respect the classics, and it was obvious Heyzen was going to pick Iron Man. And then listener Heather said Mulan. So there's a good variety there. I think the fact that they give you so many icons and avatars to choose from is absolutely fantastic. We also posted the question, what's the thing you're most happy about being on Disney Plus? Potter's Girl 92 said Agent Carter. Agent Carter, kind of one of those sleeper series that didn't get a lot of love, but it's really good. And I hope that in the style of Netflix, she didn't say any of this, by the way, I'm saying this now. I hope that in the style of Netflix and Hulu and some of these other services that tend to give life to these series that somehow didn't just make it on network TV and got canceled. I hope Agent Carter is one of those that they somehow figure out a way to continue the story with, because it was a pretty good series.
Nice.
Lynette Rodriguez said The Mandalorian. World Full of Laughter said The Imagineering Story. Can't argue with you there. They also said 10 Things I Hate About You. Old great movie. I think we can all agree with that. Miguel U. Dave says old TV shows from the early 2000s. Yes. We started watching Lizzie McGuire the other day, and Even Stevens. I love it. I can't believe that they're on there, and I'm super happy about that myself. Along those same lines, we asked everybody, what's the first thing that you're going to watch once you log into Disney Plus? Adriana said Lizzie McGuire. Whoop, whoop. Listener Desiree said The Imagineering Story. Love seeing all the old footage of the parks in color.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could not agree with me more. Hey, by the way, did you see the footage of Barker Bird?
Yes.
It was great. It's like we just finished talking about this. This is fantastic. Right? And in Technicolor, not that grungy stuff we put up. FGP Squad member Albert says The Mandalorian, already done. FGP Squad member Latasha said Tailspin, also a great cartoon. By the way, the Disney afternoon cartoons are all on Disney Plus. Watch them. It was such a great time in Disney animation. Gummy Bears, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, Tailspin, Rescue Rangers, all of that stuff. Go watch it. My kids love Rescue Rangers, by the way. We started watching that as well, and they just are enamored by the fact that Chip and Dale are detectives. So they're like all over that. Listener Amanda said, watched Lady and the Tramp original last night when it launched early. I think a lot of people did. You can call me Glow, also said The Mandalorian, and It's Just Mo said binge vault movies. Yes. I mean, you have access to pretty much the entire vault. Why wouldn't you?
All right.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for your answers regarding what some of the stuff that you're watching on Disney Plus is. If there's anything that you think is sleeper content that you were just like absolutely enamored by, that you couldn't miss, when it was first on TV or in the theaters, join the conversation and share it in the blog post for this episode over at podketeers.com/284, or join the conversation on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Just search for Podketeers and let us know what you're watching and think we should watch as well.
So I'm a little disappointed in Podketeers Nation right now because I didn't hear a single mention of High School Musical, the series. Which is 100% my new guilty pleasure.
Is it really?
Yes, I'm loving it.
Mine is currently Encore.
Nice.
It's so good. I love the premise of getting these old high school production teams together in casts and giving them 5 days to put on the exact same performances.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, you could tell that they're struggling to get back into that that acting mentality, especially if they haven't done it in 10 to 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so good. I'm digging it.
Awesome.
High School Musical, the series, that's a mouthful.
It's so good.
I am also enjoying that. I didn't think that I was going to, but the way that they're presenting the story, very, very Parks and Rec, Office-esque, with the talking heads every so often.
It's very Glee, too.
It's very Glee, exactly. And I'm digging it. I love it. And actually, this will lead me into the final point that I want to talk about before we kind of wrap up this episode is, how do you feel so far about the fact that these episodes are not dropping Netflix style or, HBO Go style, where they're dropping everything at once, but instead they're dropping them 1 week at a time?
Smart move by Disney. I mean, that's how I see it. Business point. I mean, yeah, you could have your 1 week, but you could only see one episode if you did that the first week. You can't see all the other episodes that are going to drop weekly.
Are you talking about the 1 week trial?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and I also feel like once they ramp up their production level, like they've got a lot more originals that are slated to be released, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right now, there's just such a small group of originals that if they released them all, then people would have binged them all a week ago, and there wouldn't be anything new to watch for who knows how long, right? Until the Marvel shows start up, and then So I think that maybe like next year, like in year 2, like the releases will be more Netflix style or Hulu style, where they're dropping it and you can binge, right? But I think mostly it's down to they don't have a lot of content yet.
Right.
I'm loving it though. I mean, it's because I'm a horrible person that comes and is like, oh my gosh, new season. I'm gonna watch the whole thing in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't save it. So this is actually helping me maintain my focus and attention span, and I could watch it.
Yeah. So I think the biggest, honestly, I really hope that they continue this trend, because I think one of the things that I miss the most about traditional TV is the anticipation of the next episode and the ability to talk to people about that episode without spoiling future stuff yet. Because
yes,
I don't know about you, but when I'm talking about something that I binged, a lot of it kind of seems to run together for me, and I sometimes can't distinguish, like, well, this happened in episode 2 and this happened in episode 4 for me, and it all just becomes one giant narrative the way that it wants to be told. And I'll sometimes spoil things that somebody hasn't yet seen. But in this case, if you go past that 1 week mark and you haven't seen it but you planned on it, okay, well, maybe if it gets spoiled, sorry. But this at least kind of gets you back to that, hey, let's kind of have this conversation about this episode. Let's see what happens. What do you think is going to happen next? I think the concept of maybe doing like viewing parties with your friends and the anticipation of like getting together to watch that next episode is something that used to happen a lot that doesn't happen anymore because of people binging at 2 o'clock in the morning when something is out. And maybe that's just kind of a little old school of me, but I really like the fact that these are coming out on a weekly basis just because of that.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so to wrap things up here, there's a lot of content coming out. Obviously, there's a lot of, like Gavin said, there's a lot of Marvel series that are going to be coming to Disney Plus. This week, we're getting The Little Mermaid live. So if you never had a chance to watch that when it aired on ABC, The Little Mermaid live will be on there. Mixed reviews about it, but at least watch it and form your own opinion. We can talk about it in a future episode because I think we briefly touched on it, but never really had a discussion about it. Coco's coming to Disney Plus this week as well. Obviously, more episodes of Forky Asks a Question, which, by the way, Forky Asks a Question, great little series. Totally digging Forky Asks a Question. The Imagineering Story, World According to Jeff Goldblum, Marvel Superhero Project Encore, all those series are getting new episodes this coming week. Henry Muggle Monster, Miles from Tomorrowland, Star versus the Forces of Evil. There's so many things. One Day at Disney is debuting on December 3rd. We posted this on Instagram, and I'm so excited about that coming. Thor Ragnarok, the best of all the Thor movies, is coming in December. Let's see, what else? Alice Through the Looking Glass. So, again, keep an eye out because there's always going to be new content. I haven't seen it happen yet, but I hope that in the new and trending, Disney also comes up with a section that says new to Disney Plus so that you immediately know what the new stuff that was added was. I think that would be a really good addition to the service. Overall, I think we're all having a lot of fun with Disney Plus. I think being able to relive a lot of our childhood memories and a lot of these films, like, man, I was watching Flight of the Navigator the other day, and I was like, I love this film, and I don't want them to remake it because I feel it's going to ruin it. So leave Flight of the Navigator alone. I just leave it alone. Yeah. So yes, Disney Plus, 30 original series in year one, 7,500 episodes of past series, 500 movie titles to start, and 30 seasons of The Simpsons. Currently the only place you will be able to see them because Simpsons Land has officially been shut down by FX. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you're binging. Let us know what the best thing and worst things about the service are for you. Join the conversation by leaving a comment in the blog post for this episode over at podketeers.com/284. You can also leave a comment again on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or even on YouTube if that's where you're listening to this episode. Just search for Podketeers. Any closing comments on Disney Plus before we close up today?
I'm probably gonna watch.
Yeah,
stuff.
all the positivity. It's meant, the plus sign stands for positive. It's very, very good. I'm really enjoying it.
Well said. Okay, so before I wrap up this episode, I just want to quickly say something to everybody. I kind of briefly touched on this at the beginning of the episode, and like I said, I don't tend to normally share a lot of my personal or private things, but I think this is an important message, and I'm not the first one to say anything like this, but I think it's important to say, and I think it's important to remember that if you care about somebody and you truly feel for them, you love them, whatever the case is, you should take a moment to tell them that, because you just never know when the last opportunity you're going to have to do that is. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. So I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you have anybody that you haven't said that to, whether it's a family member, a friend, a colleague that you may feel like that about, and not in a romantic way. I'm just saying, look, if you love somebody, tell them.
There you
tell
go.
them that you appreciate them, and tell them how much they mean to you, because you just never know when the last opportunity you're going to get to do that is. So I'm going to leave you with that. Going into the holiday season is all about love and being thankful and being with family and friends And if there's anything that I can teach you with, like, you know, we like to end all the podcasts with a smile and a laugh and stuff like that. But I want to leave you with a smile in your heart, and tell somebody you love them, and tell them how you feel about them and how much you appreciate them, especially this holiday season. So with that said, it's time to end this episode. So keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Made you look.